Ramadan 2026 is approaching, and with it comes a quiet question whispered into the heart. Will I meet this Ramadan the same way I met the last one? Or will I finally arrive transformed, not more organized, not more productive, but more surrendered, more present, more aware of Allah than I have ever been before? Because you see, Ramadan does not come to change our schedules. It comes to change our souls. Allah says that He is closer to us than our jugular vein. Yet so often we live as though He is distant. We rush through life carrying wounds no one sees, unanswered du'as we no longer mention, and hopes we've carefully folded away to protect ourselves from disappointment. And Ramadan arrives every year not to judge us for that, but to heal us from it. This is the spiritual realization we often miss. Allah's plan is always unfolding, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Especially then, the waiting you are in right now is not empty. The delays are not punishment. The unanswered prayers are not rejection, they are placement. Allah is positioning your heart so that when Ramadan arrives, it does not pass over you while you are still holding on to what was never meant to stay. Remember, the Prophet taught us that Allah does not look at our forms, but at our hearts. And this is why preparation begins now. Not with food, but with forgiveness. Not with to-do lists, but with tawakkul. Not with external change, but with the courage to let Allah be enough. Because the human struggle is real. There is pain you didn't plan for, loss you didn't choose, heartbreak that left you questioning your worth, your direction, even your dua. There were nights you begged Allah to fix something quickly, and when He didn't, your heart quietly wondered why. But this is what Sabr truly means. Not pretending it doesn't hurt, but trusting Allah while it does. Sabr is not passive. It is active surrender. It is choosing to believe that Allah sees what you cannot, that His timing is mercy, even when it feels like denial, that what He is protecting you from may be greater than what you are asking for. And Ramadan comes to teach us this truth gently. When we fast, we learn that emptiness does not destroy us, it reveals us. Hunger reminds us that we are not sustained by food alone, but by Allah. Silence reminds us that our hearts were never meant to be this loud with worry. And every moment of restraint whispers the same lesson: you are safe when you let go for the sake of Allah. So here is the practical reminder to carry with you. From now until Ramadan arrives, begin training your heart to return to Allah daily. Not perfectly, sincerely. Sit with the Quran, even if it's just one ayah. Say istighfar, even when you don't feel worthy. Make dua not because you are confident, but because you are dependent. Allah loves the servant who comes broken more than the one who comes pretending to be whole. Allah says that with hardship comes ease, not after. With, meaning your pain is not separate from His mercy. It is wrapped inside it. And perhaps the reason Ramadan will feel different this year is not because your life finally became easy, but because your heart finally learned where to rest. Let go of the version of yourself that thinks you must fix everything before Allah can love you. You were never asked to be flawless, you were asked to be faithful. Prepare now by forgiving yourself, by forgiving others, by trusting that Allah has not forgotten you, not even for a moment. When Ramadan 2026 arrives, may it find you softer, not weaker, softer, less attached to outcomes, more anchored in remembrance, less afraid of loss, more certain of Allah. And when you raise your hands in the quiet of the night, may your heart finally know what it means to come home. Because the greatest blessing of Ramadan is not what you accomplish, but who you become when you surrender everything back to Allah. Ramadan 2026 is approaching as a divine invitation, not just a date on the calendar. It is not merely a month we move toward, it is a moment Allah is moving toward us. Long before the crescent moon is sighted, Allah is already opening doors in the unseen, already calling hearts that are willing to return. This is why Ramadan is not announced only in the sky, but felt quietly in the soul. Something stirs, a restlessness appears, a longing awakens. That is not coincidence, that is mercy knocking. Too often, we treat Ramadan like an appointment we prepare for externally, adjusting routines, planning meals, setting goals, while missing the deeper truth. Ramadan is Allah's invitation to intimacy, an invitation to step out of distraction and into presence, an invitation to remember who we are when everything else is stripped away. Allah does not invite us because we are ready. He invites us so we can become ready. Every invitation from Allah carries honor. The fact that you are alive to witness Ramadan 2026 is not guaranteed, and it is not random. Allah chose you for this moment. With your specific wounds, questions, sins, and hopes, He did not wait for you to be perfect. He called you as you are. This is how divine invitations work. They are acts of love, not rewards for performance. When Allah invites, He also prepares. The discomfort you feel now, the dissatisfaction with the dunya, the sense that something is missing, these are not signs of failure. They are signs that Allah is loosening your attachment so your heart can arrive lighter. Ramadan is not coming to fit into your life. It is coming to realign your life around Allah. If we understand Ramadan as an invitation, everything changes. We stop asking, what will I do this Ramadan? And begin asking, who is Allah calling me to become? Preparation for Ramadan begins in the heart, long before it begins in the home, before the shopping lists, before the schedules, before the intentions written in notebooks. There is an inner space Allah looks at first. The heart eye. As the vessel that will carry the fast, the prayer, the Quran. If it is cluttered with resentment, heedlessness, and unresolved pain, even the most disciplined Ramadan can pass without transformation. Allah does not ask us to decorate the outside while neglecting the inside. He asks us to return inward, where sincerity lives. The heart prepares by becoming honest. Honest about its attachments. Honest about what it runs to when it feels empty. Honest about the fears it hides behind busyness and distraction. This honesty is not meant to shame us. It is meant to soften us. Because a heart that recognizes its need is a heart ready to receive. Remember, the Prophet taught us that Allah loves humility, and humility begins when the heart admits, I cannot do this without you. Preparing the heart also means releasing what weighs it down. Old grudges, lingering guilt, comparisons, and expectations that were never meant to be carried. These burdens make worship heavy. Forgiveness, especially when it is difficult, is one of the most powerful forms of preparation, not because others deserve it, but because your heart deserves peace. Allah says He loves those who pardon, and what He loves He fills with light. A heart preparing for Ramadan learns to sit with Allah before standing before people. It creates small moments of remembrance, even in chaos. A whispered dhikr, a quiet dua, a pause to breathe Allah's name into anxiety. This is how the heart becomes familiar with Allah. Sotha. When Ramadan arrives, worship does not feel foreign. It feels like returning to someone the heart already knows. Allah grants the greatest blessings to those who arrive with humility, not perfection. This is one of the most freeing truths of our faith, yet one we struggle to live by. We wait to become better before turning fully to Allah, as if closeness to Him is earned only after we fix ourselves. But Allah never asked for flawlessness. He asked for sincerity. He asked for hearts that bow, not egos that perform. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, it is thinking less about yourself. It is the moment the soul stops negotiating its worth and simply stands in need. When a servant comes to Allah aware of their weakness, Allah responds with strength. When a servant comes broken, Allah meets them as a jabbar, the one who restores what is shattered. This is why those who cry in sujood often feel richer than those who stand confident in their deeds. Perfection creates distance because it relies on the self. Humility creates closeness because it relies on Allah. The one who believes they have arrived has stopped walking. But the one who knows they are still becoming is always moving toward Allah. Remember, the Prophet taught us that even he sought forgiveness from Allah multiple times a day, not because he sinned, but because he understood the depth of servitude. Ramadan magnifies this truth. It does not elevate those who appear righteous, it elevates those who are real with Allah. The quiet servant who struggles yet keeps returning. The heart that falls but refuses to stay down. The believer who whispers, Ya Allah, I need you, without pretense. These are the ones Allah showers with mercy. When humility enters the heart, worship becomes lighter. Dua becomes honest. Tears come without effort. Because the soul is no longer trying to impress Allah. It is finally allowing itself to be held by Him. True readiness is learning to surrender outcomes to Allah through tawakkul. It is one of the hardest acts of worship because it asks the heart to loosen its grip on control. We plan, we strive, we make dua, yet deep inside we still want assurance that things will unfold exactly as we imagine. Tawakkul comes to gently dismantle that illusion. It reminds us that our role is effort, not authorship. The ending was never in our hands. Surrender does not mean passivity, it means showing up fully while trusting Allah completely. You take the step, but you accept that Allah chooses the destination. This is why tawakkul brings peace that effort alone never can. When the heart learns to rely on Allah, outcomes lose their power to define us. Success no longer inflates us. Delay no longer destroys us. Loss no longer empties us of meaning. Allah says that whoever puts their trust in Him, He is enough for them. Enough does not mean everything will look the way you want. It means your heart will be held even when life feels unsteady. Tawakkul prepares the soul for Ramadan by teaching it to release expectations, to worship without bargaining, to fast without conditions, to pray without demanding immediate results. So many hearts enter Ramadan hoping it will fix everything. Tawakkul enters Ramadan knowing Allah will do what is best, even if it hurts first. This trust transforms waiting into worship. It transforms unanswered du'as into conversations still unfolding. The believer with tawakkul is never empty-handed because they carry certainty that Allah is managing what they cannot see. When you surrender outcomes, your heart becomes lighter. Fear softens. Anxiety loosens its grip. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin saying, Ya Allah, show me how this is bringing me closer to you. This shift is not weakness. It is spiritual maturity. The pain you carry can become the very doorway to deeper iman in Ramadan. We often believe that suffering disqualifies us from spiritual closeness, that a wounded heart is a distracted heart. But Allah works in the opposite direction. He uses what breaks us to open us. Pain strips away illusions of self-sufficiency and leaves the soul exposed in its truest form, needing, longing, turning. Heartache has a way of quieting the noise of the dunya. When something hurts deeply, the world loses its shine. And in that dimming, Allah becomes clearer. This is why some of the most sincere du'as are born from pain. Tears soften the heart in ways comfort never could. Allah says He is close to the brokenhearted, not as a distant observer, but as a gentle caretaker who sees every silent ache. Ramadan meets the wounded soul differently. Hunger mirrors loss. Thirst mirrors longing. Night prayers echo the loneliness we try to hide. Yet within this shared vulnerability, faith deepens. The believer realizes that emptiness does not mean abandonment. It means space. Space for Allah to enter where distractions once lived. Pain also teaches sincerity. When you are hurting, you stop pretending. You stop performing. You speak to Allah as you are, not as you wish to appear. This raw honesty is beloved to Allah. Remember, the Prophet taught us that Allah responds to the caller when they call upon Him especially, from a place of need, in Ramadan. And pain can become a companion rather than an enemy. It pushes the heart toward remembrance instead of escape. It transforms fasting from routine into refuge. What once felt like a burden becomes a bridge. leading the soul away from self-reliance and back to Allah, where true healing begins. Sabr before Ramadan opens the doors of mercy within Ramadan. Patience is not something we suddenly acquire when the month begins. It is something the soul is trained in long before the crescent appears. Every delay you endure now, every unanswered prayer, every moment where you choose restraint over reaction is quietly shaping the heart that will stand in prayer later. Allah is preparing you through waiting. Sabr is often misunderstood as silence or suppression, but in reality it is conscious endurance with Allah. It is choosing trust when frustration rises. It is holding on to adab with Allah even when the heart feels tired of hoping. This is what Sabr truly means, to remain anchored to Allah while the waves are strong, not after they settle. Allah says that He gives glad tidings to the patient. Not because patience is easy, but because it is beloved. A patient heart learns to see delays as protection and hardship as purification. This understanding transforms Ramadan from a seasonal habit into a harvest. What you plant in patience before Ramadan is what you will reap in closeness during it. Those who rush toward Ramadan without sabr often enter exhausted, carrying resentment, disappointment, and inner resistance. But the one who has practiced patience arrives softer, less demanding, more receptive. They are not asking Ramadan to heal them instantly, they are allowing Allah to heal them gradually. Every act of sabr now, holding your tongue, forgiving when it hurts, continuing to pray when motivation fades, is a quiet act of worship. These unseen struggles polish the heart. When Ramadan arrives, mercy finds a heart already trained to receive it. Tears come easier. Worship feels deeper. Not because life became lighter, but because the heart learned how to stay with Allah through heaviness. Maximum blessings come when the soul returns to Allah before the body begins to fast. Fasting was never meant to be an empty physical act. It was meant to mirror an inner return. When the body abstains but the heart remains distant, the hunger teaches little. But when the soul has already turned back, the fast becomes illuminated from within. This is why some people feel transformed by Ramadan while others feel only tired. The soul returns by remembering who it belongs to. It remembers that it was created to know Allah, not to be consumed by the dunya. Long before the stomach learns restraint, the heart must learn remembrance. Dhikr softens what life has hardened. Quran realigns what distraction has scattered. Even a few sincere moments with Allah before Ramadan can shift the entire experience. A returning soul also releases what is not Allah. Attachments, expectations that once defined us begin to loosen. This return is not dramatic, it is quiet. It happens in moments of choosing Allah over impulse, silence over noise, sincerity over approval. Each choice is a step home. Allah says that hearts find rest in His remembrance. This rest is not the absence of struggle, it is the presence of meaning. When the soul has tasted this rest, fasting no longer feels like deprivation. It feels like devotion. Hunger becomes a reminder of dependence. Thirst becomes a reminder of longing. Every pang points back to Allah. When the soul returns first, Ramadan no longer has to force change. Change flows naturally. Worship becomes a continuation, not a shock. The fast does not begin at dawn. It begins in the heart that already knows where it belongs as Ramadan 2026 approaches. Understand this deeply. This month is not waiting for a better version of you. It is waiting for a truer one. Allah is not calling you to arrive flawless, healed, or certain. He is calling you to arrive turned toward Him. Everything you have lived, every delay you endured, every tear you hid, and every prayer that felt unanswered has been shaping your return. Nothing was wasted. Do not underestimate what it means to show up with a heart that trusts Allah more than it trusts outcomes, that leans on sabr instead of certainty, that believes in mercy even after failure. This is the heart Ramadan revives. This is the soul Allah fills. When you prepare now by softening, surrendering, forgiving, and remembering, you are not chasing blessings. You are aligning with them. Remember, the Prophet taught us that deeds are judged by intentions. If your intention is Allah, then every step toward Ramadan becomes worship. Every struggle becomes reward. Every quiet effort becomes seen. Allah has been watching your return long before you realized you were walking back to Him. So enter Ramadan not demanding transformation, but allowing it. Not relying on your strength, but resting in Allah's. Let this Ramadan be the moment you stop running from your pain and start running toward your Lord. Because the greatest gift Ramadan offers is not a changed routine, but a heart that finally knows where it belongs. May Allah allow us to reach Ramadan 2026 with hearts that are awake, softened, and sincere. May He fill our fasting with light, our prayers with presence, our waiting with meaning, and our souls with peace. And may this Ramadan be the beginning of a return that never ends. Ameen.